Off the Shelf with Christine and Katie. It's time to wrap up the year with our final picks. All year we share with you our recommended books, and now we have some of our co-workers here to share their favorite reads with you. It's time for Staff Picks 2022!
All right, so as always, settle in, grab a cup of your favorite beverage, and enjoy these recommendations. Feel free to add these books now to your TBR for the future, but also let us know in the comments what you think of these picks and if you have any other titles to add.
If you wish to be notified of new videos, be sure to like and subscribe below to our channel. But for now, as always, let's get to those books.
Alrighty.
Kate, you want to get us started?
Yeah, so the first one is from our manager, Kate, who recommends The Traitor King, The Scandalous Exile of Duke and Duchess of Windsor by Andrew Leone. And she rated it 4 out of 5 stars, and this is Kate's comments, and she says, being a person who reads a lot about British history, especially the royal family, I was surprised by how much new information I learned from this book. Very well researched and well written, it deals with the history of Edward and Wallace from the point of the abdication and beyond. And also, Kate also recommends, for a look at some American history, she recommends Vanderbilt by Anderson Cooper. And after a recent trip to the Breakers in Rhode Island, she enjoyed learning more about the location and the family. Found it to be a very interesting read.
Next up, we have Annie's picks, and they are all a 5-star. She started us off with The Master of Shadow by Josh Walker. This is part 2 in the continuing saga of CIA librarian Jane Thomas. She says this is a phenomenal series that you just have to try. It has magic, spell books, secret organizations, adventure, and much more. Sounds very interesting.
What more can you ask for?
I know. Next up, she recommended by Alice Feeney. She said, I inhaled it. Now, we've recommended this one before. It's a locked room mystery on an island, and I personally can't wait to read it.
I really look forward to reading it. I haven't yet, but it's on my list.
Yeah. Next up, we have The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict, and she said this was not something that I would usually pick, but this was quite interesting, and I learned quite a bit by it. It is the story of J.P. Morgan's personal librarian, a black woman passing as white in order to work. We have personally recommended this book previously in our Women's History Month video, so if you want a little bit more information on that, you can check out the video. We're going to link up above there. Then she had Santa's Little Yelpers by David Rosenfeld. And her comment simply was, an Andy Carpenter holiday mystery. No more needs to be said. She said the books in this series follow a formula, but they're always funny, and they have dogs in them, so you can't go wrong. And it's a Christmas must-read. Next up, we have Secluded Cabin 6 by Lisa Unger. This was another can't put down mystery by Lisa Unger. Also another previous recommendation by us in our suspense thriller series there.
Yes, and I look forward to reading that as well.
Yes. And finally, we had The Bodyguard by Catherine Sender. And she said, if you are looking for a feel-good read, this one will have you smiling from the very first page to the end. And you know what? Every now and then we need a little, just something that makes us feel good.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Ashley, and my favorite book of 2022 was Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. I absolutely love this book. So much so that I'm going to buy my own copy because it literally is my favorite thing in the world. I thought it kind of had a little bit of a slow start, but once it got going, I finished it within like 2 hours. And honestly, the characters in this book are just so lovely and wonderful. I would want to be their best friend. So I would definitely recommend this book to anyone who's just looking for something fun to read and something really sweet. I would give it a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 stars. Absolutely amazing.
Hi, my name is Pam. I'm a recently retired librarian from Middletown Library. I'd like to share with you a couple of my favorite books that I've read recently. The first one is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. He is one of New Jersey's favorite suspense authors. This book will keep you on the edge of your seat with sharp characters and plot twists. I absolutely loved it and highly recommend it, and I could not put it down. Hi, this is another wonderful book that I've enjoyed this year by a new author called Dorothy Coates that I had never read. It's called Gallows Hill. And if you love horror books, I highly recommend it. This will take your breath away. And if you love stories about old houses with deep, dark secrets and hidden passageways, you will absolutely love this book.
Okay, and the next one on our staff picks is from our coworker Walter, and he said, I just finished reading Cradles of the Reich by Jennifer Coburn. It is a novel based on real-life Nazi breeding homes where racially fit babies were bred and taken from their mothers to be raised as part of the new German master race. It's a disturbing book describing the horrors of living in a Nazi world that sought to eliminate the impure and imperfect people. Definitely 5 stars, Walter says. Our reading group discussion guide is also included in the book.
So after we read that, we go back to Annie's feel-good book.
Pretty much, once we need to pick me up. Okay, and the next one our staff member recommends is from Sue, and it is Verity by Colleen Hoover. And she writes a little disclaimer in the beginning saying, readers beware, this is not what you expect. She has read the previous Colleen Hoover books, but she stated that this was very different, but she still enjoyed it. And obviously many in the library have also read this book.
Hi, I'm Marissa, and I'm the teen librarian, and these are the best books that I've read this year. The first one would be The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. The cover, of course, you don't judge a book by its cover, but the cover was really pretty. I loved the emerald dress, so I was intrigued. And then I started reading it. It's not really a time period that I normally read, but I couldn't put it down from the second that I opened it up. So it was definitely very interesting. I wanted to know more. I wanted to know why Monique was chosen to interview Evelyn Hugo. I did kind of figure out the end, the big twist, but I was excited that I was right. And I know a lot of my coworkers, we talked about that for a while. But yeah, I would give that one definitely a 7 out of 10. And then the second book that I read and would recommend is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. It's a teen book. It was just beautiful. Again, the cover intrigued me, of course. If you're a fan of Studio Ghibli, if you watch Spirited Away, you would definitely really enjoy this book. It's a lot of mythology that I wasn't even aware of. I believe it's Korean mythology, so I really enjoyed it, and after the book, I looked up the myths themselves. So those were the 2 that I would recommend, and I would give that one a 7.5 out of 10. And that's it.
And next up we have Michelle's pick, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This story has a great family dynamic that despite all their problems, they still support each other. Like all of Reid's other books, it talks about the issues with stardom and shows deeply how it affects the characters in the story. It's very captivating human stories and would recommend this story as a beach read. Michelle says this is her favorite book of the year, and I will say it's one of my top picks for the year as well.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I work here at the library, and I'm going to talk about my favorite book of the year, which was The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fanon Jeffers. I read this several months back. Really enjoyed it. I actually listened to this book, which was a real treat because it has some of the best narration I've ever heard on an audiobook. It was very enjoyable, very immersive. And the audiobook version is available on both Hoopla and Libby if you would like to listen to that. We also have, I believe, a playaway copy here. So lots of access for the library. But anyway, talk a little bit about the book. This was a debut novel for this author, who is also a poet. And her background in poetry really shows in the prose. It's excellent. It's dual stories between the past and the late 20th century, which is when the main character of this story is growing up. The main character's name is Ailey Pearl Garfield, and her story is mainly a coming-of-age struggle with identity, race, gender, and she's kind of going back and forth between her hometown in Georgia, where her family is from, and the city, they don't say which one, but the city life where she's kind of struggling to fit in and figure out who she is. It's very good. I really enjoyed it. It's thick, but I promise you it's worth your time. It was my favorite book of 2022, hands down.
Next up, we have some picks from Ebony. Now, Ebony likes to read a variety of genres, so we have plenty of picks from her and something for everyone, I think.
Pretty much. She's our library's most voracious reader, so we had to include hers.
So first up, we're going to start off with Ebony's favorite reads of the year in fiction. Her number one, she had Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. And this is a novel set in a dreamlike alternative reality with elements of mythology. Sounds like fun. Then we also have Disorientation by Elaine Sheh-Chow, which is a satirical novel about art and identity.
Okay, and in the memoir category, Ebony recommends How Far the Light Reaches by Sabrina Imbler. It's a half memoir, half biology essay, and about how her life intertwines with these sea creatures. Okay, and the second memoir she recommends is In Order to Live by Yang Mi Park, and it tells the true story of Ye Ming and her family growing up in the dictatorship of North Korea and their escape.
Right. Next category we have is funniest. So these are Ebony's favorite funniest books she's read this year. First up is The Echo Chamber by John Boyne, and it's a humorous take on the modern world's social media addiction, living life online rather than grounded in real life. Then we have Not My Problem by Sierra Smythe. It's a coming-of-age novel that explores themes of poverty, alcoholism, family, and friendship, but they are offset perfectly with humor. This was also Ebony's favorite young adult read this year, too.
Okay. And unsurprisingly, the next category is horror, which we all know Ebony loves. And her first selection is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and it's a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's classic The Fall of the House of Usher.
Okay, so next up, this was an interesting category called Most Shocking. And the book is Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. And Ebony
Ebony basically refused to give us a description because she didn't want us to be spoiled by anything.
Yeah, no spoilers on this one, but just be prepared. It's a bit of a shocker.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's called Most Shocking. And the next category she gave us is short story collection. And she selected Life Ceremony by Sayaka Murata. And it is short stories based around food by the author of Convenience Store Woman, and her first collection translated from Japanese.
Yeah, actually, Ebony told me that Convenience Store Woman was one of her favorite books from last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very excited to read this one. Next up, we have fantasy horror. So your dark fantasies is this one. And it's Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery by Brom. It's set in colonial New England, and Slewfoot is a tale of magic and mystery, and that's all we're giving away. But I'm intrigued by the cover and can't wait to read.
I have known a couple friends to read this, and they really do love it. Okay, and the last one is the manga category, and she recommends Black Paradox by Junji Ito. And it is 4 people intent on killing themselves meet through the suicide website Black Paradox. And it's a classic Junji Ito story, can be a little trippy. I will warn everyone, he can be very shocking in his imagery. I'm still scared of spirals to this day, thanks Junji Ito. So just a warning, yes, his imagery can be a little shocking, but if you love that kind of imagery, I will say he does it well. And the last manga that she recommends is one that I'm very familiar with and also love, is Death Note, short stories by Tsugumi Oba. And it's a continuation of the original series. Be sure to and she recommends, be sure to read the original first, and I highly agree with her. The original is a classic. I think it ended well, even though some people think not, but I really love Death Note. I think it's one of the mangas that adults can also enjoy. Truthfully, it's very underrated, but I highly recommend it as well. So I'm thankful to Ebony for all of her picks.